So let's open up the 1.04 summary quiz. So question number 1 is just the definition of a summary. So according to the dictionary, a summary is a brief statement or account of the main points of something. So, true or false? A summary is in a reader's own words and gives the main points of the piece of writing. What do you guys think? Share the results here. Most of you got it. It is true that a summary is in the reader's own words and gives the main points of a piece of writing. So if you're reading a short story and you're writing a summary, you're going to write it in your own words. Okay? You're not copying and pasting from anything. You're not copying and pasting from the text or anywhere else. You're writing it in your own words. It's a matching question for question number 3. So we got to know the difference between fact and opinion. So opinions are statements or beliefs that cannot be proven true. It's the opposite of a fact. Okay? Everybody has their own opinions about things, but it can't be proven true. There's no evidence to show it. Okay? A fact is information that is verifiable. There's going to be evidence to prove it. Okay? Detail is a description or a reason or an explanation that gives more information about a topic. And then summary is a brief statement or account of the main points of something. We have that definition earlier. Okay, so statements of fact are objective. They contain information, but do not tell what the writer thinks or believes about the topic. Okay, statements of fact are objective. They're not opinions. Understanding a summary. A summary is a shortened, condensed version of whatever it is that you're summarizing. Okay? The purpose of a summary is to share main ideas. Summaries keep the same tone as the original piece and do not contain opinions. I'm going to emphasize that part a lot. Summaries do not contain your opinion. Summaries don't care about your opinion. Okay? Summaries do not require a formal conclusion. It's not an essay. So what goes into a summary? We need main ideas. That goes into a summary. We need setting, because we're summarizing short stories in this lesson. So we need the setting. We need main characters. We need conflict. Wow, I got to fix this slide. So there's a typo. Conflict. And we need resolution. So that's what goes into a summary, those 5 things. Do not include minor characters. Do not include dialogue. So we don't need to know exactly what characters said, because you're writing things in your own words, remember? So don't copy and paste dialogue. And do not include your opinion. So the summary is not the place for you to tell me if you liked the story. Okay? Summaries don't care if you liked the story or not. All right? So these are fill in the blanks. So for question number 7, identify the author and the title of the text that you read. So these are the steps that you should take when writing a summary. So this is what you should do every single time you have to write a summary. Identify the author and the title. Then identify the characters' names, because you need to know who the main characters are and things like that. Number 3, identify the main conflict. Number 4, write about the events that lead to the resolution, and then share the resolution of the text. Okay, so I'm going to activate this so you can click that button on the board once you have completed these questions 7 through 11. And again, anyone who already turned this in, if you missed any of these, just open up a new attempt. Whenever you open up a new attempt for a quiz, you will only need to answer the questions that you got wrong previously. You won't have to answer all of them. And throughout this and I want you guys to use this chart to help you make sure that you have written. What is Engagely doing? Engagely was just being weird for a second. I want you to use this chart to make sure that you are including everything that you need in your summary. Okay, so you will see this a bunch of times. Move on and take a look at some tips for writing an objective summary. So this is question number 12. Make sure you select all of the tips that are listed on the board. I'm going to activate this so you can click the button once you have these finished. So make sure you focus on the central ideas of the text. Omit any minor details. Write around 4 to 5 sentences-ish, about a paragraph, especially for what we're doing with these short stories, because the short stories that we're summarizing are very short. You don't need to write more than a paragraph for that. Organize your information so that it makes sense. Restate the information in your own words. Do not copy from the text, okay? And also don't use AI, okay? And do not include opinions or your thoughts, okay? So it doesn't matter if you like the story or not. It doesn't matter what you think of the character. Don't tell me what you think the character learned from their experiences. None of that matters. You're telling what happened in the story. That's it. So let's practice. So we have a short story on the board, and we're going to go through some questions and collect some information from the story so we can write a summary together. Okay, so this story is in your quiz, and this is the practice together section. So we're going to do this together. Okay, so I'm going to read this out loud to you, and then we'll go through each question about this story. Okay. The Birthday Visit by Jessica Doe. Carrie was listening to the new headphones she had gotten for her birthday and looking forward to her visit with her dad when she heard the faint sound of an announcement. The flight attendant said, "The captain has turned on the fasten seatbelt sign." She was already buckled in her seat, but she looked around and saw other passengers looking for their seatbelts. Suddenly, the plane began to shake, and she heard a loud cry from a few rows behind her. The flight attendant, who was previously walking slowly through the aisle to check the seatbelts, quickly walked to her seat. She noticed her buckle up and hold on tightly. A wave of fear came over Carrie as she grabbed the armrest. As quickly as the turbulence began, it was over. Okay, so what is the title of the story? The Birthday Visit. Okay, and I'm going to give you guys whiteboard tools. Now let's highlight the title of the story. All right, there we go. And where can we find the title of the story? And I'm going to move these because I'm going to move some of these over because that word by is not part of the title. So where can we always find the title of a story? At the top. Yes, at the top. It's always at the top. Good job. So we got the title. So now, who's the author of the story? Jessica Doe. And let's highlight that on the board. And make sure you are answering these in your quiz as well. Okay, Jessica Doe. And how do we know that she's the author? It says by. Yes, that word by tells you who wrote it. So that's the key word that you look for. Will we always know the author of a story? Have you guys ever seen a story that said by unknown? Or it didn't have an author at all? Yeah, sometimes they do that. I know you may have never seen it before, but some of you have. Sometimes they don't tell you who the author is. Okay, and that's okay. Some people don't want people to know that they wrote it. I don't know why, but sometimes there's no author listed. And if that ever happens, that's okay. It's just unknown. All right, but this one we know because it says by. Okay. Who is the main character? Carrie. Okay, how do we know that she's the main character? Okay, her name's at the beginning. Her name's the first word we see in the story. What else tells you that she's the main character? It's highlighting her experience. So everything that happens in the story is about what's happening to Carrie. So that's what makes her the main character. Okay, good job. What's the main conflict of this story? Okay. What's shaken? I see you guys highlighted shake. What's shaken? Is it shake and bake? The plane. The plane was shaking. Okay. So what does that tell us? How do we know what exactly the conflict is? The plane was shaken. So what's that called? What does that tell us what's happening? Turbulence. Yes. Turbulence. That's what that's called. And do we see that word anywhere to confirm that that's what that shaking means? Yes. Okay. So it's not like a giant just shaking the plane or whatever. It's turbulence. We got the word in the story. Okay. Fantastic. So that's the main conflict. There's turbulence on the plane. So now, after the conflict, what's done to resolve the conflict? And this section of our somebody wanted but so then chart can have lots of stuff in it because the characters can do multiple things to try and resolve that conflict. So what is done to try and resolve this conflict of the plane shaking? Okay, the captain turned on the fasten seatbelt sign. So that's one thing that was done. What else was done? And see, we don't want to include any kind of opinion stuff. So saying something has gone awry, that's your opinion. Okay, flight attendant was checking seatbelts, other passengers looking for their seatbelts. Okay. Did Carrie do anything? Flight attendant buckled up and held on tightly. What did Carrie do? Grab the armrest, right. So that's really all they could do. Check the seatbelts, hold on tight, is what they all did to try and resolve the conflict, because that's all they could do. So after they try and resolve the conflict, what's the resolution of the story? How does the story end? Yeah, the turbulence ends. Right? Turbulence ends. And that's sometimes what happens when the conflict is person versus nature. So whenever we see a person versus nature conflict, the person can't always really do anything about what nature is doing. You just got to hold on tight and wait for it to pass. Okay? So eventually the turbulence ended. Right in the chart, the parts that we need in the chart, and then we can talk about how we put that together as a summary. Okay. So we always start with the title of the story. So somebody put the title of the story in that section of the chart, because you always want to say in the short story, whatever it is that you're summarizing. Everybody, this is the part where you guys participate. So somebody use your text box tool or the post-it note tool. I like the post-it note tools the best because I think those are pretty neat. So let's put the title of the story in that chart. And let's fill out the chart. There we go. There we go. Oh, where's Carrie go? We had her in the right spot. She moved. Let's get her in the chart. There we go. There we go. There we go. Okay, so we got in the short story, The Birthday Visit by Jessica Doe. Carrie. What did Carrie want? What did Carrie want? What's the main idea of this story? What was her goal? There we go. She wanted to visit with her dad. All right. That's why she was on that plane. But what happened? There's turbulence. Okay, so what did they do because of the turbulence? What did they do because of that turbulence? Well, for this story, we're not writing the summary in your quiz, but we're doing it in class. Because there's no section in your quiz to write this summary in the quiz. So this part we're just doing in class. But in the on your own section, you'll write the summary of the story in the on your own section. Excuse me. Okay. So they put their seatbelts on and held on. And then the turbulence ended. Okay. So all we have to do is take this information and write it in complete sentences. Since this short story is very, very short, our summary for this short story only needs to be a couple of sentences. Okay. Your summary for the one in the on your own section will be about a paragraph, but this one can be shorter. So somebody write it in the chat box. Write it in complete sentences. At least 2 complete sentences, maybe 3. Because this is a very short story. So let's write it in the chat box. Put it into complete sentences. I'm waiting. I don't know how long it takes you guys to type. Give me a thumbs up if you're working on typing this out in the chat box. Okay, I see a thumbs up. Okay, I'll just be patient then. How's it going? Anyone haven't done yet? Click enter. Let's see what you guys have. Okay, there we go. In the short story, The Birthday Visit by Jessica Doe, Carrie went to visit her dad, but there was turbulence on the flight, so she put on her seatbelt and held on. Then the turbulence ended. Okay. In the short story, The Birthday Visit by Jessica Doe, Carrie wanted to visit her dad for her birthday, but there was turbulence on the plane, so they put on their seatbelts and held on. Next thing you know, the turbulence ended. Okay. Both of those work. Fantastic. Okay. So does this make sense how we're using the chart to get everything we need for a summary? Does it make it easy? I hope, because that was my purpose, was to try and make it easy. Okay. Good. So let's take a look at a new story. The Camping Trip by Johnny Doe. Dell and his friends went hiking. They set up their camp in an open clearing in the woods. The boys set up their tents and immediately went to gather wood to make a campfire. Dell, Artie, and John walked through the trees to gather the wood that was on the ground. The sun began to go down behind the trees, and Dell realized he had forgotten his flashlight in his backpack. The boys hurried so they could get enough wood quickly and make it back to camp before dark. With arms full of firewood, the boys jogged back to the clearing and set the wood down next to the fire pit. Let's take all that information that we gathered and put it in the chart, because you guys know all the information for this. But let's get that stuff on the board. Okay, we got the camping trip. If everybody worked on a different section, we'd have this done in no time. Our camping trip by Johnny Doe. Who's the main characters? Dell and his friends, okay? What'd they want? What was their goal? This is the context of the story. Why are they there? Okay. They needed wood for a campfire, okay? But what's the conflict? What's the conflict? It's getting dark, yeah. Dell forgot his flashlight. So, what'd they do? What did they do? Yeah, they hurried. They hurried, not just hurried back to camp, but what else did they hurry to do? Because they couldn't go back to camp empty handed. So what did they do? Yeah, they hurried getting that wood. They gathered that wood quickly and then hurried back to camp. So then, what's the resolution? What's the resolution? And remember, this should all be in your own words. So we're not copying and pasting from the text or anything. So you can word this however it makes the most sense for you. So what's the resolution? I see arms full of wood twice, and you guys don't need to use the exact words that are in the story. You're allowed to reword it in your own words because you don't want to just copy from the story. So just tell me in your own words, what's the resolution? What happened? Anybody? How do we put this in our own words? You guys hear me? We got 10 people in class today. Okay, I see a thumbs up. Fantastic. There's another thumbs up. So just tell me what happened in your own words. What happened? Imagine these are your friends and you were telling somebody else about what happened on their camping trip. Okay, they jogged back and put the wood in the fire pit. Okay, so we still got jogged back. Is there a way to reword that in your own words without using the words from the story? Because I want you guys to get out of the habit of just copying the words that are in the story. Okay, they ran to put the wood in the fire pit. Okay, so did they make it? Did they accomplish their goal? Yes or no? Did they accomplish their goal? I see a thumbs up. Okay. Okay, so why can't we just say that? They made it back with enough wood. I don't want you to have exactly the same words that are in the story. I want it to be your own words. It needs to be your own words. Okay. So just saying that they made it back in time with enough firewood for their campfire is perfectly fine. This on your own section is now the only thing you need to look at. All right. So you'll need to read this story. It'll ask you the title. It'll ask you the author. It'll ask you the main characters. Don't guess on any of these things. It's all in the story. Believe it or not, I've had people get this wrong, and I don't know why. Don't guess, because it's all right there. Okay? So it's going to walk you through all of this. Make sure you look to see how many correct answers there are in the multi-select section. And then there's going to be a chart at the bottom here. Same chart that we've used in the practice ones. So you want to start your summary with in the short story. And then make sure you have all of these filled out, but write it in a paragraph. Okay, I don't want bullet points. I don't want half sentences or whatever. I want an entire paragraph, complete sentences. Okay, good. Okay, good. So this summary has to be about this story. I've had people write weird things in that box. You are reading this story and writing the summary down here.